Hi, I'm Mark. I'm a 3-year sports betting addict, and I am on my recovery journey. And I'm sharing this with you all in hopes that some of my lessons learned and some of the things that I've experienced through this so far can help inspire you on your journey or help you assist someone else that's in need. That's what helped me start this journey originally, was finding a podcast of someone else who was struggling, and really it related with me. It resonated with what I was really going through and feeling. So I hope that this can do this for someone else as well. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and today I wanted to really talk about where to start. It can feel so overwhelming. You've gone through the darkness. I mean, you're probably at your rock bottom if you're really seeking assistance, and that's what it was for me. My career was on the line. I had a massive amount of debt. All the relationships in my life were strained, and the people that the relationships were strained with, they didn't understand why, because I was pretty good at hiding the gambling in most cases. They didn't know that was really the true root cause of all the pain and suffering that I was bringing into our lives. And it's overwhelming, and in your head as a gambler, the person that you're lying to the most is yourself. You've told yourself that, hey, just one more good run, I'm going to be able to win this back, I'm going to be able to fix all these relationships and fix everything. And that's not the only part that's broken. You're broken in your heart and your soul, your brain, and anatomy of that piece is your dopamine receptors aren't even getting joy out of the things that you once got joy out of. The first step, and I know it'd be easy to jump into a program. I made that mistake. I thought a program could fix my problems, and the problem started with me. And when I went to my first GA meetings and I went to Celebrate Recovery and things like that, all amazing tools, but I wasn't at the point where I was ready to accept recovery for myself. And that started with me being honest. And I think that's the first step in all of this, is starting with yourself and being honest with yourself that you have a problem. You have a problem that isn't going to fix itself by gambling more. It's trying to fix a problem with a problem. And you have to be honest with where you are with your opportunities, whether that's with your family and your friends and the people that you love, what those relationships look like. For me as well, the massive amount of debt and financial strain that I was creating on my family, I had to be honest that is where I really was, because gambling is that thing that can constantly convince you the other way. Hey, just one more good run, you're going to get your life back, everything's going to be okay. And it feeds you those little tidbits as you go along that journey, and that's why you can feel that way, and you can feel that small amount of hope, but that hope is always dashed away immediately with that next bet. I shared in the last video, it was consuming so much amount of my time. I was, on the sports betting app 8-10 hours a day. I was betting on table tennis and things that were so obscure just because the frequency of the action and getting that dopamine rush constantly and just trying to fill that void and how excessive it was. And it's one of those things you don't really know until you really sit down and be honest with yourself. As you go through this journey, you're going to reflect back and remorse so many of the things you've lost. But at first, you just got to sit yourself down and be honest with yourself. Share where you are and know that there is a better tomorrow. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is it can feel so overwhelming. I mean, those darkest moments late at night, staying up, just honestly crying myself to sleep, just thinking about the destruction I've caused. You can't even barely see that there could be a better side, but there is. And it starts with you being honest with yourself and admitting there's a problem to yourself. And that's the most important one, because you've been lying to yourself for so long. The second thing I would say is find someone that you can share this secret with, because you've kept it a secret for so long if you're struggling like I have. And it doesn't need to be that person that's the most important. The first person I shared this with wasn't my wife, wasn't a member of my family, because I wasn't ready for that. That's really a little bit later on. You start and share this just with somebody, and this is just from my experience, what worked for me, is I shared it with a close friend, someone that I knew wasn't going to judge me, someone that I could just put this thing out there in the atmosphere and have it not be a secret anymore, this demon that I had let it build up to be. Gambling and addiction are only as powerful as the darkness that we let it. I always compare it to a monster. When it's, in the dark, in that closet, a secret, it's so powerful because you're fighting this thing on your own. And the more people that you care about, that you trust, that you can bring into this fight, the more powerful you are and the weaker this thing becomes. It shrinks in comparison, it shrinks in power, and it gives you this practice run. You know, when I shared this with my friend, I knew this was someone that wasn't going to judge me, someone that was going to provide, you know, just honest support and just be there. And I told him up front, hey, I need to share something with you that you're the first person I'm telling, and I just want to get this out there. And it is like the chains come off. You feel this massive relief off your shoulders. Getting that practice run through and sharing this with somebody so that you're not burdened by this alone. Next, and this will be kind of our last piece for this video, is, you know, because I really just wanted to talk about where to start, is it is time to tell those people that you love the most, that you care the most, your family, your friends, whoever those significant people are that are suffering the most from this. It's time to share what this looks like. And it's not easy. This is the hardest part, I would say, of almost anything besides admitting it to yourself, is sharing this with the people that you love. For me personally, I was not in a mental place where I was ready to push myself out there and go through that conversation over and over again. Eventually I got to that point, but to ease the blow for how I approached it is I actually ended up stumbling on a video that was on the Ramsey show, and it was about a gambling addict who was trying to recover and go through the steps, and his story matched my story. And so what I did in my approach, and I don't know what the right approach is, but this is just what worked well for me and made it a little easier, is I sent this video out to each of those significant others, my dad, my mom, my sister, my closer friends, my wife, and I said, I need you all to watch this video. I sent it to them individually, sent them a really similar message. I need you to watch this video and see where I am and know where I am. And then I had planned to have conversations with each of them going into that next week. You know, I had most of those conversations, but that made it so much easier to put my words together, to put the conversation together, and to kind of hold myself accountable to having that conversation, because they all of a sudden got this video talking about addiction and sports gambling, and then all of a sudden they felt accountable to that. I'll share the video link and the link to that video in here for you as well, but I would just say, have that conversation. That's really the biggest pieces when it comes to starting your journey. I know it's easy to jump into maybe a 12-step program or go to a GA meeting, which you definitely should, and that should be part of your path. But right out the beginning, you got to be honest with yourself. You got to tell people, you got to get this thing out of the dark, because that's where it's powerful. Then you can get help, you can get support. And no, you know, when I had these conversations with my family, they did not go well. I mean, they were very judgmental on most cases and not as easy as I would have hoped. But sending them that video ahead of time made it 1,000 times easier, because they knew what I was going to approach them with. I wasn't going to get hit with that wall as soon as I started talking about it and not be able to express what I needed to express. You know, I know it's hard. I know you feel defeated, but I promise you, on the other side, there is a better life outside of addiction, outside of all these things that are constraining you. There is greatness on the other side of this, a life that you can't even imagine right now if you're deep in this addiction like I was. Just know you're loved, seek help, and finally just bet on yourself.